A couple of weeks ago, Ed Ogeron was at the Rotary Club meeting, and it was his last public sort of media appearance before fall camp, and it's obviously been a disjointed offseason. But when Ed Ogeron was at Rotary, this is what he was talking about with his cornerback rotation.
At corner, we got probably the best corner in the country, and Derek Stingley. We also got Elias Ricks, the number one cornerback in the country. We got Jay Ward. We got Ray Jones. And then we got Dwight McLaughlin, outstanding young player. The guy that's really shined for us so far is Cordell Flott. He can play the nickel, and he can play the corner. And we got Kary Vincent, who's shown that he can play any position. So I really think that the corner position, Corey Raymond, as you guys know, has done a tremendous job there.
Did it strike you as odd, knowing now today that Kary Vincent has opted out for the 2020 season? Listening back now, does it strike you as odd that mentioning Kary Vincent was almost like an afterthought? Maybe I'm reading too much into this, but Ed Ogeron said, we got Derek Stingley, and we got Cordell Flott, and we got Elias Ricks, and we got Jay Ward, and even this freshman who came in, Dwight McLaughlin, and he's really turned a lot of heads, and we got Kary Vincent who can play a lot of positions. That's not generally how you would refer to a guy who's played in 38 games over 3 seasons with 18 starts, who was tied for second on your team a year ago in interceptions with 4. It's almost as if this might have been brewing for a while, like they knew this might have been coming. So Kary Vincent today on social media released a post where he announced that he's opting out. He's opting out, and he is not going to play his senior year. He's not going to transfer. He's not going to wait and come back next year like Neil Farrell. He's just going to start getting ready for the NFL draft. In part, he said that he has been preparing to have this opportunity to play in the NFL for his entire life, and now he's going to go take full advantage of it. And I fully respect that. As we have said all throughout the COVID process, whatever any of these student athletes in any sports decide, which they feel is best for them and their family, that is best for them and their family. My only point is that it almost feels as though Ed Ogeron at that point knew that this was imminent. And if anyone tries to tell you that you're better off losing a senior who's played in 38 games with 18 starts, who's won a national championship, then like smack him across the face, because you're not better off without someone that has that much experience. The real question, though, is can he be replaced? That's the really sincere question that you have to ask. Okay, it stinks losing this guy because he's played so much ball. He's got so much experience. But do you have someone else ready that can step in and fill that void? And at a place like LSU that's garnered the moniker DBU and earned it, the answer to that question is always going to be yes. It should always be yes. And I think it is yes this year. You heard Ed Ogeron run through the names there. You've got Derek Stingley on one side, who's the best defensive player in college football. On the other side, they love Cordell Flott. Those are going to be your 2 boundary corners, and I think we already knew that. Kary Vincent was intriguing, and you heard Ed say it there because he could play so many positions. He could play the nickel, play dime. He could kick back and be a cover safety if you're in a 3 safety look. There were a lot of different things that Kary Vincent can do. But the question is, can you replace that guy? Do you have someone else that can cover the slot, that can step back and be a 3rd safety? And I think the answer is yeah. I mean, you've got Jacoby Stevens, Todd Harris, Maurice Hampton, Jordan Tolles. You got 4 safeties that they really like, and one that might be an All-American this year. You've got your 2 boundary corners in Stingley and Flott, and then you got all the other guys that I had mentioned. You got Radarius Jones. You got Jay Ward. Dwight McLaughlin's coming in as a freshman. And oh, by the way, you got 5-star number 1 cornerback in the country, Elias Ricks, standing right there. For me, if anything, this screams of, while we haven't been watching, like what we haven't been able to see, might be that Elias Ricks has flashed and impressed, and maybe you had the lead to be that nickelback. Because if you're going to go Stingley, Flott, Ricks at the nickel, covering the slot. Now all of a sudden, where do you go if you're Kary Vincent? I'm spitballing here. I'm not telling you something I know. I want to be very clear about that. I'm not telling you something I know. But what I do know about LSU is when you churn through talented defensive backs the way LSU does, it's not uncommon for a veteran guy to lose a spot. Look, it happened last year when Stingley came in. What's to say it's not happening right now with Ricks coming in and the coaches are going, man, we got to get this guy more reps. We got to find a way to get this guy on the field. He's so long and athletic. Like, he's going to be a day one instant difference maker. And maybe that's where they are right now. And Kary Vincent can look at it and say, you know what? I could I won a championship. I could stick around and play maybe a season that could be interrupted where I might lose reps, etc. Or, I mean, I could tap out. I could just start getting ready for my future. I won a national championship. I played 3 years. I played in 38 games. I'm going to sit here and battle for a spot and lose reps, whatever it may be. Let me go get ready for the draft. And if that's where Kary Vincent is today, I completely respect it. The other thing I'll tell you, too, if you're LSU, where you kind of exhale a little bit and think, maybe this is more manageable. This is one of those years, and we've talked about this. It just feels so odd because we've hit pause on the on-field conversations for so long now amid COVID. But all the quarterbacks that have left the SEC after this year, Joe Burrow graduates and off to the NFL. Tua's off to the NFL. You look around the conference, and Jake Fromm obviously isn't at Georgia anymore. You look around the conference and you go, is Kyle Trask or Kellen Mond the best quarterback in the league? Is Felipe Franks at Arkansas is maybe the most experienced quarterback that, aside from Mond, that LSU's secondary is going to see all year. You know what I mean? So it's also a year where, because you're not necessarily going to see elite level quarterbacks, it might be a really good year to break in some younger players. So, man, I wish Kary Vincent all the best in the world. He obviously, since he's been in Baton Rouge, has had to deal with the loss of his father and has overcome so much adversity, from succeeding early as a freshman and getting a pick in his first game to then riding the bench, taking a step back, and then recommitting himself as a sophomore and playing exceptionally well, and then dealing with the death of his father, and then being a national champion with 8 starts this past year as the nickelback on a championship team. He had a great run at LSU, especially, and then track and field as well. So tip of the cap to Kary Vincent for an awesome career in Baton Rouge. Best of luck moving forward. Now let's see what the kids got in the secondary. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.